Here. Okay. Everybody take a nice big deep breath and let it all go. I am here only to be truly helpful. I am here to represent him who sent me. I do not have to worry about what I say or what to do because he who sent me will direct me. I am content to be wherever he wishes, knowing he goes there with me. I will be healed as I let him teach me to heal. Amen. That's really where our work is.
That's what the Course shows us.
Absolutely.
The way to do that.
Yeah. All right, so workbook 93, paragraph 6. Your sinlessness is guaranteed by God. Over and over, this must be repeated until it is accepted. Whoop. A workbook lesson. I'm sorry.
Workbook lesson 93.
Did you have the right one, see? My apologies if that was not explained properly. Workbook lesson 93. There you go. But at least you were paying attention and you realized it was on the wrong page. That was.
We're throwing Jesus under the bus.
There we go.
Once again.
You don't even want to listen to this, and it's good news. All right. All right. So you're. Oh, absolutely, all the time. All right. Your sinlessness is guaranteed by God. Over and over, this must be repeated until it is accepted. It is true. Your sinlessness is guaranteed by God. Nothing can touch it or change what God created as eternal. The self you made, evil and full of sin, is meaningless. Your sinlessness is guaranteed by God, and light and joy and peace abide in you.
Yeah, but.
Well, indeed. So what's the problem? And the problem is we're not sitting here. We've chosen to sit here. And when we choose to sit here, we get all of this. And all of this is guilt, sin, and fear, evil, darkness, you name it. Put the adjective around it. And I've covered this over by this. And now I live and breathe every moment of my day sitting in this, wondering why I can't access the love of God. But in order to do that, I have to let my story go. And I don't want to let my story go.
Can you say that right in the beginning of the book, on the preface or the introduction?
Nothing real can be
You're
threatened.
guaranteed to pass this course.
Yep.
Time is all up to you.
Absolutely, yes.
You said that, you can't fail.
Exactly, exactly.
Well,
The unreal.
well, I had told the story probably a couple times in the Course of Miracles, but I don't know if everybody heard it or not. That when I was drafted in the Army, I hated the Army. They sent me to Korea. I had to, during the war, I had to spend 18 months there, sleeping in a tent, dusty roads, dirty, filthy, told what to wear, how to wear it. And I was afraid that I would commit suicide. So one day I climbed up in the mountains, the top of the mountains, and talked to God and swore at God and was mad. I spent a half a day up there and was really, really my heart coming out and really putting everything into it. And I've never felt that way since. I was mad. All day up there, and if somebody would have saw me, they would have thought I was an insane man.
And you are, no.
You are.
Yep.
Don't even worry about
Thank
it.
you.
You can do that in your car too.
Oh, yeah, car's a good place for it as well. But yes, yep,
The
But-
best place for that is in
right.
your car.
Say what?
Best place for that is in your car.
Yeah, the only thing is all that vibration comes back in. On the mountains, give it to them,
I
right?
didn't have a car.
See, they took your car away too. All right, so again, your sinlessness is guaranteed by God because you're sinless. How could it be anything but that? It's just that when we chose to separate, we believed we were sinful. He sits here and goes, no, you're not. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. Nothing happened. And we insist on accepting, believing the lie.
And
And
we
you,
still do,
and we still do, oh, yes, sirree, we do.
okay?
Yes.
You can't lie to yourself.
No.
You take yourself right where you're at.
Yes.
That's where all the help comes.
Absolutely. So he says over and over, this must be repeated until it is accepted. And I often talk about the idea that this course is very cyclical. It gets repeated over and over in a variety of different ways because Jesus knows very well this doesn't just go in and whoop, I got it. It requires great reinforcement because we have literally been playing in this arena since the Big Bang. So it's got a whole lot of reinforcement. So now we have to keep choosing differently so that we align back up to exactly what we already are. Again, he says, your sinlessness is guaranteed by God. Nothing can touch it or change what God created eternal. And I can remember when I first started the course reading a line similar to that, and it was like, oh, thank goodness I can't mess it up, because I assure you, if there was a way, I would have found it. But knowing that nothing can be done to disrupt, harm, change, kill off what is truth. I can believe that that has happened, but I can't do anything to make it be that way. Now,
It doesn't change the fact that the world is mad, and it's still mad.
it is still mad and will always remain mad.
Exactly, and you're
Yes.
asked to unlearn what you've overlearned.
Yes. And what did we learn? The self you made, evil and full of sin, is meaningless.
Right.
But we don't believe it's meaningless. We think it's very solid, very real. That there's one of the workbook lessons, it talks about, we believe the ego is like this citadel of this, walls that cannot be penetrated. And then in other workbook lessons, it'll say, well, the ego is like a cloud. You can drop a coin through it because it's nothing.
Nothing.
But we believe it is something. And to the degree that we believe it is something, it's going to appear to be very much something, as
The
Denise
ego's not the
experienced.
problem. It's our choice for the ego. That's the
Correct.
problem.
Well, that is
That's it.
correct.
It gets its power from the mind
Yes.
that's choosing it.
Yes, and it continues to choose it on top of that. Your sinlessness is guaranteed by God. Again, 3 times in one little paragraph. And light and joy and peace abide in you. So every time the darkness comes to meet us, we have the opportunity to remember, I've chosen for the ego, it's a lie. Holy Spirit, show me who I am in light and joy and peace, because I want to align with that. All right, we're going to
But
go.
nobody knows the amount of pain
No,
that she really was in.
no,
And, you just do crazy things
absolutely, yes.
when you're in pain.
Well, Harvey, and the bottom line is all of us are in immense pain 24 hours a day, and because we're so addicted to it and so used to it, we don't even know that we're in that pain
Yeah, but
until
some
something
degree
really
of
major
pain is
happens.
higher than-
Yeah, no,
not-
understood.
Not that
Yeah.
in a 24-hour period, you can't escape from it.
Yeah,
Right.
exactly.
People do vicious things.
Absolutely.
Are you going to read the next sentence?
No, but you can.
I like it.
Go for it.
Salvation, I have it highlighted. Salvation requires the acceptance of but, which means only one thought. You are as God created you,
Yes,
not what you made of yourself.
absolutely. Yeah. And keep remembering on this chart versus this chart says it really happened, and that's what the ego believes. On this side, it says nothing happened. Which one of these stories am I going to accept and believe?
Well, the choice we made is the one we believe.
That is absolutely correct. And that's why we're learning that another choice can be made when I'm ready
That's
to make
the
it.
key.
Yes.
Screwing the cap on the peanut butter jar is not the problem.
Exactly, exactly. All right, so the next section I'm going to read, you don't have a psychotherapy pamphlet in front of you, so you won't be able to read along, but I will read it. The process of psychotherapy then can be defined simply as forgiveness for no, oh, I'm sorry. It's the definition of healing. Oh, yeah, some people with the newer books have that in your book.
Yeah, it's in the book.
So that's page 13.
Yeah.
Page 13.
Page 13? Okay, sorry. Thank you for calling that to my attention. I keep forgetting about that.
It's,
The definition of healing. Everybody find it? All right, the process of psychotherapy then can be defined simply as forgiveness, for no healing can be anything else. The unforgiving are sick, believing they are unforgiven. The hanging on to guilt, it's hugging close and sheltering, it's loving protection and alert defense. All this is but the grim refusal to forgive. God may not enter here. The sick repeat over and over while they mourn their loss and yet rejoice in it. And we'll talk a lot more about that line. Healing occurs as a patient begins to hear the dirge he sings and questions its validity. Until he hears it, he cannot understand that it is he who sings it to himself. To hear it is the first step in recovery. To question it must then become his choice. All right, this is pretty packed, kids. Yeah, hoo-wee. All right. Absolutely. Until he hears it, he cannot understand that it was he who sings it to himself. To hear it is the first step in recovery. To question it must then become his choice. All right. So the process of psychotherapy, and let me just explain for those of you who are fairly new to the course. The course was written, and when it was written, shortly after that, there was this realization that people weren't understanding the course, especially the word forgiveness in the course, because the word forgiveness in the course means forgiving the whole dream, and it's nothing, it's not real. And then I'm not sure how long after that the psychotherapy pamphlet was written. It was a year, thank you, Rose. And it was geared more towards therapists and so on. All right, so this is taken from the psychotherapy pamphlet. The process of psychotherapy then can be defined simply as forgiveness, for no healing can be anything else. So we talk about Workbook Lesson 5. I'm never upset for the reason I think, because there's no problem out there except for what's going on in my mind. And if my mind believes in separation, that's where the problem comes, and that's what needs to be healed. No matter how ugly, terrible, awful, you name the words, it can appear to be on the outside. It always wants us to bring it back to where the cause is. Because over here, all you're doing is running back and forth, chasing your tail. It is only when we access the mind or the cause that we can ever heal the effect. And it's no different than going into a movie theater. We all know unequivocally when we walk into a movie theater, I don't see that character that I came to watch. He's not in the room. He doesn't exist in the room. Jesus throughout the course keeps reminding us how, not only how insane we are, but that he knows how insane we are.
Absolutely, and we are going to
Yes.
make mistakes.
Yes, and he wants us to become aware of how insane we are. We don't have to hide it from him anymore. He's telling us right here
I know.
exactly what we're up to. So don't be surprised.
That clarification of what we've chosen is important to clarify what's going on here? Why do I feel so bad? All those questions, I didn't do that on purpose. Why are they so mad? I mean, all those other questions that have plagued me since I was a little 2-year-old.
Absolutely.
I mean,
Absolutely.
What did I do wrong? Who's a party that I poop on or whatever?
Yep.
It was just too. So it's just trying to tell us that we're in there. We're in there choosing. We think we're just like, duh, here we showed up somehow, and it's all our parents' fault. But somehow we're giving it, the muscle for our choosing is being introduced and strengthened in this group.
Correct, absolutely. So healing occurs as a patient, he's talking about us, begins to hear the dirge he sings and questions its validity. So it's as we awaken, as we become more aware, we start to realize, I'm just repeating the same old, excuse the expression, bullshit I've been repeating to myself for eons of time. What is that getting me? Is that taking me to peace? And the answer is no.
Is it true?
And is it true? Well, there's a whole nother way of, yes.
Well,
Validity.
this questioning is validity.
Yes,
Validity.
yes.
Is it true?
And it's the dirge that I'm singing to myself.
Yes.
Say, who said so, right? That's what he used to say. Who said so?
Until he hears it, he cannot understand that it is he who sings it to himself. Again, what is projected on my screen of life is coming from my projector. So guess who's responsible for what I see? And everybody's got their own little projector going. And we know we've been places where you could be sitting next to somebody and you're complaining and whining about someone and you say, doesn't that person bother you? And they go, no. It's a different experience, but somebody else that will bother them doesn't bother me because it's coming from my projector. There's nobody else out there. Just like at night when you dream, the characters in your dream are all coming from your head. And when you wake up, where do they go? Well, when we wake up, all the characters in our daytime dream will be gone because I'm awake instead of asleep in the dream of the insanity that's going on in my head.
It's gonna be a bad synchronicity, but
Bad synchronicity.
this morning I listened to a friend of mine. He's about, 32. He's been asked to be the best man at a wedding, and for a week now, and probably more than a week, he's been saying to himself, "Why would anybody ask me to be the best man? I'm horrible." So he's complaining. He said, I'm sick, I'm diseased. I mean, this is what he's saying. I didn't know what to say to him. I don't know, do we say, in light of today, I don't know, do I say something? Do I not say something?
Well, I mean, I would take it within and say, okay, Holy Spirit, if I'm supposed to say something in this scenario, guide me along.
Well, I did say something, but I don't know.
And I can't say anything until I come to
The
some
place
kind
of
of
peace.
relationship with that in myself.
Right, yes.
It's not even a him out there.
Right.
And that's what I really appreciated about my sister here.
She told it like it was.
And showed us that in me. This, the suicidal, raving, dynamic, and coming to something, to that in myself. It is a scary, it's very uncomfortable. And seems very threatening. It seems.
Yep.
But is it true?
Yep.
Yeah, I had when she was here last, she and I were out in the parking lot for a good 20 minutes talking. I felt my heart, going out there. Because I could relate to her, not on a suicidal level.
Right.
But I just felt this need to be loved, and yet the story projected is I am unlovable.
Oh, man.
Or, you can't, I'm gonna do whatever it is to show you I am unlovable. So every time I would say, well, I used to practice a lot too. What part do you like? And, oh yeah, I like that rock group too. But this was like.
Yep. But
I don't understand that, but it's not for me to understand.
right, but understand though that aren't we all hiding under a veil of my less than-ness, that whenever we present ourselves in front of anyone, we're walking towards them with my ugly cloud, and they're doing the same thing. And that's why when we come together, love cannot be found there until one of us says, lift that cloud, show me who I am.
That's the dirge.
It's the dirge, yeah.
Before blame is just one aspect of how things work out. Before blame is separation.
Absolutely. Separation's always first. Yep.
It may show up some other way.
Absolutely.
Before that is separation.
Yeah, the core, the pudding that starts it is there, yeah. All right.
The problem is we identify as the home of evil darkness. and sin.
Well, that's very interesting. That's what we're going to read next. So there you have it. For Sue. All right, so let me just finish this paragraph and we'll take our break. Until he hears it, he cannot understand that it is he who sings it to himself. To hear it is the first step in recovery. To question it must then become his choice. So as we become aware of the dirge we sing to ourselves, now I'm more awakened to the understanding that the problem lies here. Then I can begin to question as I find myself in those places. Wait, is this where I want to stay?
And my brother is
Showing
showing me what
what
I'm
I'm
singing to myself.
Yes, indeed. And what do? We go point the finger at the person that's singing instead of realize they're showing me exactly what I need to look at. Yes.
They're showing me what I'm talking about.
Yep.
Yeah,
All
I
right.
think that the path, I just came to this after meditation this morning. You know, I don't have to listen to Sadhguru, I don't have to listen to Course in Miracles, I don't have to listen to any of that. The path, if I'm open to the Holy Spirit, the path is shown to me by what's in my environment at the very second I'm looking at it.
We all want custom-made cars, custom-made clothes. We have the perfect custom-made classroom right in front of us, but we don't use it. All right.
Yeah, exactly.
Yep. All right, let's take a 10-minute break and we'll come back.
Hey, Marianne.
Hey, Cindy, how are you? I was thinking about you.
I know I've been a little absent. It's been kind of
I know.
roller coaster ride, but doing okay. But so I came in a little
I
late.
know. One of the gals in our group, which you've not met, but she passed away this week, and she chose to take her life. So we've been kind of working around that concept. Yeah.
All right, that's what I kind of figured. Somebody.
Yeah. Gotcha.
They wanted to talk about that then.
Yeah.
Okay. Well.
Okay. All right. We'll talk soon. What's that?
Good to be listening again.
All right. All right. We're taking a break. I'll be back.
Bye.
Okay. You can do that.
It's the weather. Marianne, come here.
Yes, sir.
Come to my Jennifer. Thank you.
Same one? I thought so. My friend and I were. That's the one that I. Nice, that is nice.
Hi there, young lady. How are you? Hanging right there.
All right. Now we got something to work with.
You got that?
Got it?
I don't gotta put it back?
No, we're good. We're good.
Okay.
Yep.
But the one you sing is wonderful too. I was gonna suggest sometime when you're doing the Saturday class, incorporate that, you know how you go through the line by line?
Right. Yep.
And put it with something else if you gotta fill the class up. To me, I could stay on it.
Right, forever. Yep. I
Really.
got you.
I mean, this kind of stuff. Right. I mean, you just understand it more today. Really. I know. Lately, I know. And I remember when we used to share the mellows, I used to love those. Because there's more on my level. I'm an ass, you're an ass. I understand that.
You're a bigger ass.
Yeah, but at least I saw I'm not special. We're all playing the same asinine game. And that's what it is today. It really is. You know, because like Ken says, he says, you know, he wants to go back home to a place that don't even recognize. You know, that they're under and he says, hey, good morning, Harvey. You know, there is none of that recognition. It's all one. And this level you can't understand. You know, if you really sit with it and say to yourself, how the hell can oneness take the life of oneness? Impossible. Utterly impossible.
No, but when we get blame Harvey, that if someone looks at him funny, or someone doesn't say hello to him, he's in terror and misery, then eventually this becomes
You know, I
more
don't
appealing.
really understand this part of the mind, you know, the psyche, you know, the Freud he just didn't have the right, but he knew the man is an asshole. And he's murdered. He's nothing but murder. Given that's right. Given the right circumstance, everybody can do this. Everybody.
What did you
You don't even have to have a reason. That's how quick it goes.
Right, yeah. So that's not pretty,
You know where I'm from?
like if you had just like kept pushing it down, then you would have been, you know, like if you had to cry out to somebody, where are you, God, help me. How do we do this? And that's what you have to do.
I told him to take this away. I don't want this to stay up.
I wasn't ready for it. But she could have read the words, you know, just because they don't sink in. I mean, they were really making fun of it.
You see, there's nothing,
You know?
your uniform is drab.
That's when we think we identify with the home of evil life sin. Instead of like peace and joy and abiding.
You can't give your own opinion, you have to say yes, sir, and all that stuff.
Well, that's what it is. And that's why this is a process. We gotta sit with it, we don't give up.
Well, I wasn't a very good
And if you fall down, you get up and you take the next step again. And that's it. That's all you can do. But it sure ain't worth taking the bottle, or taking the gun, or any of it.
We're here to save America.
What I did
Really think you were. And there's, and after all this, people in AA, you know, that have been sober for years. And they take that first drink, they're willing to give up all those years. To take that pain away for one night.
A long time after it happened, you go, wow, if I hadn't done that, I wouldn't be this.
Yeah, I know. That's true.
And there are a lot of those people out there.
That's why they do one day at a time. Even though they have the sponsors, they're going to call.
I used to go down to Jake and get it. That's how I had to do it.
Rage against things that you don't like.
I don't worry about the day. This minute, that asshole's talking to me. Take a
When I'm
breath.
raging against it,
No
I'm
thank you.
asking the question, God, what are you, what's this about, what's this for? And then
Makes
No,
somebody
I
else
don't
be
wanna know
able to
what
turn it around, stay there, and another person on the outside turn it around.
But that doesn't mean he can't. It's just taking him a little bit longer. That's all. Because I went in, when I came in, there was a guy in here 5 years before I even got there that went to different, you know, treatment centers. And then after the last one, he quit. After all those years.
Right now, I don't.
Yeah, exactly. I know it.
probably just laughing at all of us.
How you doing, girl?
Oh, I'm doing all right. I was trying to figure out if I knew her, because they said she went to Unity, but
And she came across, which is what I was looking at.
well, that's just too bad.
The last time she was here, it seemed like about a month ago.
But it's perfect that I'm here, because I've been
And, you know, it's 7 years.
thoughts through my
Seven
head.
years.
Two times.
And there are moments.
Well, okay, so I'm gonna ask you. So, does this equal sign technically what your Catholic church? Can I make that?
Doesn't always have to be a
Church would say, you can be over here and you can be a nice person, and when you do that, then everything's gonna be nice in your world. Well, I never got that from my church. So there's always a missing link. To me, this really makes sense. The reason why that never worked, even though I tried very hard to be a good person and be nice and all that stuff, was because I was still over here and playing in this arena instead of going here.
Yeah, because this is a lot for me to take in here,
I
so.
assure you, I've been working on this for 30-some years.
Oh, really?
It's still
Wow.
not that easy, but to me, it connects some dots that the Catholic Church for me did not connect. You love your
Yeah,
brother. I
because-
tried to love my brother, and he was an idiot. No matter
Yeah,
how much I tried to love him, he was
oh,
still
I
an
know.
idiot. Yeah.
But you, because, what is it?
No, I can hear you in the room when I was online.
Thinking of,
I can definitely go through.
no, oh, like, but I think that was, yeah, they had you suffer.
Oh, yeah. Well, when this course said no suffering, no
But
sacrifice.
see, that was the thing with the, and it's like no matter what, you know, in a lot of shows that you see on TV and stuff, it's like, and I remember seeing my grandmother with her rosary, and it's like, no matter what you did, you had to suffer. And then that's why I came to church here, because I thought, I know that I'm a sinner. I don't need to be reminded every week that I'm a sinner. I know that God is in my heart too. So that's what I'm going to work on. I'm going to work on, you know, putting joy out, putting kindness out. And like you said, it doesn't always work, especially when you have people fighting you. But I just,
especially with the Catholic Church, you can be on your knees for the rest of your life, but you're.
It's not solving the problem of
So then,
having to this.
but you know, you're supposed to suffer because Jesus
And I
died on the
remember
cross?
thinking, and I know subconsciously I was thinking, if I could suffer like Jesus, then I'm, going to
Yeah.
glad. Well, that's, I'm not enough for that.
Yeah, so
You know,
it's,
so it's a very different approach to the situation.
yeah. Well, because I know that, yeah, you know, like you said, you try to be a good person, and then there's, you know, always somebody out there that's tearing you down, especially like at work for me. And, you know, I don't know if I'm attractive or what, but I try to, you know, I'm just myself, and I don't necessarily change. You know, like if there's something I don't agree with, I don't just, you know, agree. So I don't know, so that's.
But this gives you a different approach to dealing with the problem at the core, where real healing happens. No, as I understand.
Okay, but we're never gonna be fully healed.
No, that isn't what we really fully healed. We will eventually.
Really?
Yes, because every time, you know, think about this is a bank account we keep on here. We've been putting all our money in this bank account.
Oh, okay.
Now we're starting, in any given moment, when you choose this, you're putting your money in that bank account and you're not putting it in this one. And eventually, this bank account will be filled and this one will be empty.
Okay, well, that's pretty.
Yeah, I agree.
That's pretty.
I agree. Okay, guys.
She is so pretty.
Hey, sweetie. Take enough?
No,
okay.
no, I don't get to see that. I don't get to see. Tomorrow, not tomorrow, Monday, I can't think of it, today's Saturday. There's this, the ladies, this group of ladies that are going to Jean's for lunch. Do you remember you came on time? Are you in, would you like to join us? What time? Monday at noon. All right, let me check my schedule. Because, remember, we have to be out there too.
I remember that, that's
So-
funny, I didn't realize that before,
So
but
we
yeah.
get a big round table. Doris.
Yeah.
And Dorothy, and,
Couple other people.
those people.
Okay, yeah, I'm gonna, as long as I don't have something to do, I will definitely, thank you for inviting me, I appreciate it so much. Okay, back to,
Cleared the room.
yeah, wonder why, right? Okay, we are going to get back on track here. And our next section we are going to work on is workbook 93 again, but we're going to start at the first paragraph. Yes, Miss Kathleen? Yes. Helene, would you do me a favor and close the door, please? Thanks.
So this somewhat, I'm having hysteria panic that I can experience. It's even saying what happened to me. It's an internal hysteria panic.
Yep.
Which I'm learning today that I am blaming, because like I said, I was blaming the struggle, blaming the ego, it's still blame.
Yep.
But if I'm not upset for the reason that I think, then we're gonna go back up there. So the panic is the panic that I left God?
Yep.
And I'm now scared down here?
Yep, because, well, think, you know, and I know I've given this example before, but if you're in a spaceship and your spaceship, when you're walking, you know, you're exploring and somebody comes and cuts off the, what is it called? The cord, yeah, that works. The cord, and suddenly your security's gone, everything's gone, it's pure black, and you are floating on your own. That's what the anxiety that you and everybody else on the planet experience.
But if you keep saying over and over again, there's nothing here but you, that's an exact example of what it's like floating out in the middle of nowhere.
Exactly.
And that's the
Yes.
choice you made.
Yes.
And you know, this is what brought it home for me. I don't know how many times you've told that story. And I've listened to it and I get it and I,
Yeah, but,
you know,
yeah, I know.
intellectually, I've got this. And then one day I'm replaying that story, I'm cut off, and I go,
Oh, I'm cut
God,
off.
what have I done now? And that's the guilt.
Yep.
Yes,
That's the guilt.
Yes.
The never-ending guilt
Yep.
that this course is talking about. That's what we're dealing with. That's what colors
Yep.
our perception.
Well, and for me, I feel cut off.
well,
Yes,
of course you feel cut off. Well,
Exactly.
but you see, the thing is,
Holy shit.
you cut it off, and now you're afraid to go back to God because you really believe what we did was, I know you do.
But it's not.
Too bad. No.
It's
Yeah, that's
not
right.
you.
Okay.
No, it's not you,
So we
right.
need to talk that way, because when you do that,
I know.
it doesn't make sense.
You
It doesn't matter, 'cause you
doesn't
don't
do
exist
anything.
anyhow.
Yeah.
But the floating person panicking is the one that's afraid.
Yes,
It's the one mind that's in total black darkness, nothing.
the total opposite of
You
love
see
and light
that
and
red
joy.
dot up there? That's the decision maker. And that's the only place where everything is going on. He's sleeping and he's dreaming. And he's either choosing the left side there or the right side. How much time you want to spend is your choice. You can spend all the time on the right side and you're at home. But you choose to spend the time on the left side. That's just because you're scared.
So we feel
We're all
alienated.
scared.
So the switch that you and I talked about this morning, that Buddha did, did the switch in his brain. It's
What did you call it?
This Buddha.
Switch.
A Buddha?
Turn the switch in his brain. his
Well, isn't
mind.
that what happened to Byron Katie? She woke up and,
She woke up that way, yeah.
Well, that's beautiful.
well,
Eckhart Tolle did that.
Yeah, I know.
Yep, exactly.
I'm,
I know.
Funny. Well, so the journey, I feel stupid even saying.
No,
this.
there's nothing to
You're
feel
not.
stupid about.
But
No.
but I like this idea of free floating out there, and it is very scary. free floating.
Yes. Well, and to think about, and I guess, when they talk about a birth of a baby, well, the baby comes out, they were nice and warm and being fed, and it was comforting, and then bam, you're born, and bright lights, and then they smack you,
And they cut a cord.
and then they cut the cord, exactly, and you're off on your own. And you cry.
Get to a point where you can look around and say, well, this could be interesting.
Indeed, it's interesting, yes,
I'm not quite sure yet.
indeed.
But the question is,
Alice in Wonderland.
Mhm. And that's where your panic is really coming from. Your panic is coming from the memory of that moment when we chose to separate from the love of God.
okay, so there I am free floating in the panic, okay?
Mhm.
And so you're simply saying,
it's all unconscious.
you're just making another choice?
The lifeline is then, Holy Spirit, show me that I have not left home.
That's the tiny man.
That's it. The Course talks about two choices. No, there aren't any others.
That's what we don't have, is trust. And in fact, if you look at the way that the world is structured, you gain attachments and you lose attachments. You gain attachments and you lose attachments. And ultimately, you'll spend most of your life gaining attachments, and then you'll spend it losing them.
Yeah.
So if you're attached to that process, and that's what the Dark Night of the Soul teaches you.
Sure.
Because if you're attached to that process, you're done. Thinking about suicide is something very normal, because you're what you come into contact with is the abyss.
Yep.
And the abyss is scary as hell. It's like nothing.
But understand, the abyss is scary as hell because we're so used to the chaos and insanity, and that has become our home, that the abyss is foreign. But the abyss is what we are, and we've just covered it over by the insanity and gotten so used to it that we don't know what life would be like without it, so we're very timid as we walk back to being shown who we are. And I personally love the idea that the Course says the little willingness in one moment is all we're asked for.
Well, we're everything and we're nothing.
Exactly.
But when you look into the abyss, you see nothing.
In our experience, but
In our
it's really everything.
In our experience,
Yeah.
it's really everything, but you can't transcend that easily.
No, but one step at a time you can.
And with death, in my view, that's the abyss as well. And so,
Of course.
whether I'm free floating that while I'm alive and working on this, or when I'm on my deathbed knowing that I'm going to die in a minute, it's still that same choice. Holy Spirit, show me how I know.
Absolutely. It's the answer for everything. Yep.
Well, you get more used to it after 10 years or so. You're waiting for the abyss. You're like,
Yep.
okay,
But
this
we're all,
is us.
whenever we're in a situation where I don't know, and I'm
Yep.
back in that place of the void or death. And so death is not something foreign, or just when this body no longer is manifest. It's a continual process that we're dying to something, ideas,
Yeah,
you know,
yeah,
and
everything
our
is closing
attachments to it,
the
looking
page,
at,
changing the
looking
page
at my
of the book.
attachment to it.
Yep.
Oh my God. Oh, this is terrible.
It's remarkable when you, and miraculous even when you let go of control.
Oh, yeah.
And just be aware of, you know, like you're walking through a funhouse or something, things are happening or not happening, and you notice how certain things are falling into place.
Yeah, it's
that
beautiful.
you're so worried about.
Yeah.
But you've gotta let go of the control.
Yeah.
I guess it would be tantamount to jumping off a cliff.
Yeah. And understand that what brought us to here was our choice, and we've stayed in that mode of being where I'm in charge. And the answer is to let go of being in charge, which is very foreign because we're so used to being in charge.
Because we're controlaholics.
Well,
That's something
true.
you can play with.
That's an
Honestly,
addiction.
play with.
Mhm.
I love the archetype of the
Courage
fool
to do it.
in the tarot card, the fool.
Yep.
And what it represents, an innocence, a humility. And the fool is walking and he's right at the, getting ready to step into the abyss.
Yep.
His head up, And, the instinctual forces behind barking, the voices, but stepping off into something. But
Yep.
it requires an innocence and it's interesting because that innocence sort of blocks all this judgment of something and our,
Yep.
Our preconceived
Yeah, why do they do
beliefs
Person for
that we're letting go of, that
Mhm.
we're all attached to, Dying to
To the
that,
unknown.
those beliefs. Is it true? Oh, this is terrible. Is that true?
Empty and
Oh, she shouldn't have done it. Is it true?
Yep.
But if you think about it, committing suicide is the ultimate ego act.
That could be said.
Because you're definitely saying, I'm in control, God, I'm gonna kill myself. I tried to do it once. I tried to take my car, drive it into a steel button on the freeway, going at 80 miles an hour. I wasn't harmed.
Wasn't time for
Couldn't
you,
kill
baby.
myself. I tried really
Isn't
hard.
that-
I couldn't kill myself.
Because because it wasn't possible.
I'm gonna put my seatbelt on for some stupid reason.
The best of plans, huh?
you still might have walked out with,
Yep, you could have.
No
Yep.
injuries, right? Yeah.
really?
Boy, I was mad.
All right, we're gonna do a real quick little paragraph on text, and that's text 244. If you have an old book, it would be 227, and we're 244 in the new book, 227 in the old book, paragraph 11.
Paragraph what?
11. So before I begin to read, this paragraph is explaining where we came from, where we went to, and yet what is really true. All right.
Okay, what number will it
Par-
be at?
Paragraph 11.
Okay.
In peace, yes. In peace, he needed nothing and asked for nothing. In war, he demanded everything and found nothing. For how could the gentleness of love respond to his demands except by departing in peace and returning to the Father? If the Son did not wish to remain in peace, he could not remain at all. For a darkened mind cannot live in the light, and it must seek a place of darkness where it can believe it is where it is not. God did not allow this to happen. Yet you demanded that it happened and therefore believed that it was so.
Yeah, duality and oneness cannot coexist.
All right, so in peace, we needed nothing and asked for nothing. You know, again, we talked about the baby in the womb being taken care of, it's being fed, it's warm, everything is taken care of. In war, and what he means by war is when we chose to separate, we made war against what we were. So in war, he demanded everything and found nothing. So we thought we were going to get something. We were going to be in charge. We were going to be in control. We didn't have to wait for that old God guy to take care of everything. We were in charge. But as a result of that, yes, we got to be in charge, but we really lost everything of value. For how could the gentleness of love respond to his demands except by departing in peace and returning to the Father? So when the Son decided to go off on his own, the Father remained exactly where he always was and will always be. Nothing was affected in truth.
Like the prodigal son.
Well, like the prodigal son, exactly. Yep. For a darkened mind cannot live in the light. So when we accepted the fact that we believed in separation and we took it seriously, we were now a darkened mind that cannot live in light because the mind believes in darkness now. And it must seek a place of darkness where it can believe it is where it is not. So we believe in the separated experience, the dualistic experience, but as he says, where it is not, because it's not real. Well, the problem is we don't believe it's not real. We believe it's very real. And anytime a little light shows up, we're resistant to it because this is my home and I'm used to darkness. We panic. Yep, sad but true. So God didn't.
I have a friend who exemplifies this perfectly for me, and I exemplify it for her. So she invited me to her Bible study, and I decided to go, you know, but then for some reason this other topic came up about Disney, and she told me that there were 6 or 7 phalluses on the cover of a Little Mermaid DVD. I'm thinking, well, what's that about? I said, I'm pretty much an image specialist. You know, I teach art history. Can you show me? You know, even a few weeks ago I would have said,
No way, right?
no way, and I'm out. But so she showed it to me. I said, is this a genuine cover for a DVD? And she says, yes. I said, well, can you show me the phalluses?
What's that? Phalluses.
This is my nice way of saying it. She said penis.
An erect penis.
An erect penis. So
Sorry, Piata.
so she showed me the image, and behind the Little Mermaid were these orangish towers, which she said were phalluses. So I said, oh.
Oh.
Oh. And then I filtered. I wasn't doing anything. I was thinking about it, and then all of a sudden the words came right out of my mouth. I wasn't talking. It came out of my mouth. This is a stylized version of Walt Disney's castle.
Mm-hmm.
They have towers.
Sure.
And I said, there's a difference between a phallic image and a phallus, etc. And she thought about it for a second. She said, well, maybe so. I mean, this is, and so then I felt bad because I must have needed an opposite that day. That's why she was, you know, talking to me, but I responded in another way than I would have, like I said, even a few days before. And so I just said, this is compassion. Let me just see what you have. I'm not going to just say you're wrong, because maybe you're right.
There you go. And that's the beauty of opening that space to another possibility. A growth can be experienced by both people, and it's not, you're not in charge any longer. As Beata was saying a few minutes ago, when you really let God take care of it, it's amazing. You don't have to be God anymore in the world. And it all gets taken care of in a better way than what you could do most
And
of
I
the
thought
time.
she was gonna be mad at me, cause I had to see her later on in the day.
Right,
Thinking,
but you
"Oh, this is not gonna be good. She's gonna bring her husband, they're gonna blame me why I'm wrong. I saw her later, she was like, oh, Zita, how are you doing?
But even the concern about
Yeah.
them later is a shadow of my belief in this. Yep.
Yeah, exactly.
All right, so for a darkened mind cannot live in the light, and it must seek a place of darkness where it can believe it is where it is not. That is us. Once we separated and we felt guilty, guilt, sin, and fear, we had to choose an experience of darkness because we weren't comfortable with the light any longer. And he goes on to say, God did not allow this to happen. So nothing that this, what is truth, has been disrupted or changed or anything. It is only our belief in our mind that directs our experience of being in the darkness. Yet you demanded that it happen. So we insisted that it happen, and therefore believe that it was so. And he keeps saying, nothing happened. And every week we look at this chart, whether you're consciously aware of it or not, and you see the words nothing happened. And the words over here are something did happen. And which one am I addressing or aligning with? Look at your life. Is there anything in your life that can take your peace away? If there is, it's just reminding you you're choosing for this. And the beauty is you can now do something about it. Where before we truly felt we were innocent victims of circumstances beyond our control, and I had to make sure I was in control and pick on somebody